At the helicopter testing facility of a major aviation corporation, a young CEO stood beside a brand new prototype aircraft. Her designer heels clicked against the concrete as she inspected the machine worth $20 million. Beside her, a man in a janitor's uniform wiped down the cockpit windows with steady hands. She turned to him with a half-smile, her voice dripping with mockery. "Fly this helicopter and I'll marry you," she said. Laughter erupted from the employees gathered around. Phones came out to record the moment. The janitor just smiled quietly, his eyes calm and unchanging. 10 minutes later, the engine roared to life. The helicopter lifted off, circling like a hunting eagle. When it landed, the entire facility fell silent. Jack Turner was 40 years old, a single father and a man who once commanded the skies. He had been a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, an instructor in the Tactical Flight Division, training some of the best pilots in the country. But that was before the accident, before the injury that ended his military career, before he traded his flight suit for a janitor's uniform. Now, he worked at Aero Sky Corporation, mopping floors and cleaning windows. Nobody knew his past. Nobody asked. To them, he was just the quiet maintenance man who showed up early and left late. His daughter, Ella, was 9 years old. She had her mother's smile. Though her mother had been gone for 3 years, cancer took her too quickly. Ella was Jack's entire world. Every morning, she hugged him before school and said the same thing. "Daddy, you don't need medals to be a pilot. You'll always be my hero." Jack kept his old pilot ID card in his wallet. The edges were worn, the lamination peeling. Sometimes he looked at it, remembering a different version of himself, a version that felt confident, that mattered. At Aero Sky, preparations were underway for something big. The company was about to unveil the Valkyrie V9, a cutting-edge helicopter with an advanced autopilot system meant to revolutionize the industry. But there was a problem: nobody wanted to test-fly it. The engineers were brilliant with computers and calculations, but flying, actually trusting their own work, was different. Fear had a way of freezing even the smartest people. Aurora Vallon, the 30-year-old CEO, had inherited Aero Sky from her father 2 years ago. Beautiful, intelligent, and ruthless, she had an Ivy League MBA and zero patience for weakness. To her, employees were resources, numbers on a spreadsheet. She especially looked down on the cleaning staff. They were invisible to her, background noise in her empire. The Valkyrie V9 sat in the testing hangar like a sleeping predator, sleek black metal, curved glass, and technology most people couldn't comprehend. Aurora stood beside it in her tailored suit, arms crossed, staring down her nervous engineers. Jack was nearby, emptying trash cans. He noticed everything: the fear, the hesitation, the perfection of the machine itself. Aurora's voice cut through the silence. "We launch in 1 week. Someone needs to test this aircraft, not in a simulator, in the real thing." No one volunteered. "I'm surrounded by cowards," she muttered. Jack smiled slightly. He had heard officers talk like that before, fear and anger disguised as leadership. It never worked. Ella's words echoed in his mind: "You don't need medals to be a pilot." The next morning, tension filled the hangar. Aurora called an emergency meeting. "We spent 3 years and $40 million developing this aircraft," she said sharply. "And not one of you has the courage to test it?" An older engineer, Marcus, spoke nervously. "Miss Vallon, with respect, the autopilot system is new. If something goes wrong, the manual override might not respond fast enough. We need a professional test pilot, someone with military experience." Aurora snapped, "We don't have time to hire one. Somebody here must have basic flight training." Silence. From across the hangar, Jack's calm voice broke through. "Maybe you need someone who's both." All eyes turned to him. Aurora's brows lifted in disbelief, then amusement. "You? The janitor? You think you can fly a $20 million aircraft? Jack replied evenly, you said you needed someone. I'm just saying you might be making assumptions. The crowd laughed. Phones came out again. Aurora smirked. Fine. Fly this helicopter successfully, and I'll marry you. More laughter followed. Jack looked at her for a long moment, then smiled. Deal. The laughter stopped. Aurora blinked, momentarily thrown off, but she gestured toward the helicopter. Show us what you've got. Jack walked to the Valkyrie V9. The crowd followed, half mocking, half curious. He circled the aircraft, checking the rotor, the tail, the skids, every move precise and professional. People began to quiet down. He climbed into the cockpit, put on the headset, and his hands moved across the controls with practiced confidence. Switches flipped. Systems hummed. The instrument panel glowed. The engine started. The rotors spun faster and faster. The helicopter rose, 6 inches, 1 foot, 3 feet, then higher. Jack's movements were smooth, steady. The Valkyrie turned gracefully, performed tight rolls and dives only a trained combat pilot would dare attempt. When he landed, the skids touched the concrete so gently the sound barely registered. Silence filled the hangar. Aurora stepped forward, stunned. Who are you? She whispered. Jack pulled out his wallet and placed a worn laminated card on the table. Aurora picked it up, reading aloud. Lieutenant Colonel Jack Turner, Instructor, Tactical Flight Division, United States Air Force. Marcus gasped. You're that Turner? The one who trained half the Air Force pilots? The crowd was speechless. Aurora stared at him, eyes wide. You've been cleaning floors for 6 months, and you never said anything? Jack replied quietly, you never asked. Why? She asked softly. Why are you doing this? You could be flying, instructing, anything. I needed a job, Jack said. I have a daughter to support. After my injury, I wasn't cleared for military flight. The airlines wouldn't hire me. Aero Sky had an opening for maintenance. So, I applied. You hired me. Aurora's throat tightened. She had hired him, and never once looked at him. One of the engineers stepped forward. Sir, we're sorry. We didn't know. Jack nodded. You didn't know I was a pilot, that's true. But you knew I was a person, and you laughed anyway. The room fell silent. Aurora finally spoke again, her voice trembling. The accident, what happened? Jack's eyes went distant. Training exercise went wrong. Mechanical failure. I got my crew out, but I took shrapnel in my leg. The Air Force retired me with honor. My wife was already sick, stage 4 cancer. She died 8 months later, left me with our daughter and medical bills I'm still paying off. No one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of cooling metal. Jack continued, so no, I'm not here because I want to be. I'm here because I need to be. Because Ella needs food, a home, and a father who shows up. Pride doesn't pay for those things. Aurora covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Jack shook his head. You didn't know my story. But no one here knows anyone else's story either. Marcus worked through night school supporting 3 kids. Jennifer in accounting is a single mom with a disabled son. Carlos in shipping lost his brother last year. Everyone here is carrying something. Everyone is fighting battles you can't see. That's why you treat people with respect, not because of what they can do for you, but because they're human. The hangar was silent again, but this time it was heavy with emotion. Aurora wiped her tears. The helicopter, you flew it perfectly. How did you know the controls? Jack smiled faintly. I've been cleaning it for 6 months. I studied the manual during breaks. Read the specs. I trusted the design, it was good work. Marcus added, those maneuvers you did, they weren't standard test patterns. They were combat tactics. Old habits, Jack said with a small laugh. I wanted to see how she handled under pressure. She passed. Your autopilot works fine, but your manual override is even better. This aircraft is ready for production. Aurora looked at the Valkyrie V9, the machine that had brought her pride to the ground and raised her humanity. Then she looked at Jack Turner, the man who reminded everyone that dignity isn't found in titles, but in character.